It's Tuesday and it's time for Falcon Focus. Welcome to this week's edition of Falcon Focus. It is episode number 6 here in season number 3. My name is Matt Menzel. We focus this week in segment number 2 on cross country, being joined by their head coach Russ Delapp as the cross country teams get ready to host the NAC Championships. That comes up in less than 2 weeks here on the Mequon campus. But at first, we talk with Morgan Bolts, who used to be part of the Falcon women's soccer team, now is the public address announcer for various Falcon athletics, but also the host of one of the newer social media shows that the Falcons offer, Inside the Nest. And we'll talk about Inside the Nest and more as we go along here on this Tuesday. But Morgan, you're from Wausau, Wisconsin.
I am.
And a proud warrior of Wausau West High School. How did you end up here at Concordia?
I think Concordia was a really easy choice for me. I wanted to go to a really small school coming from a bigger public school. Concordia kind of just fit the taste of like a smaller school, and then also has a really good Christian community, which is something I really focused on. I also got to play soccer here, so that was a real good treat for me coming in.
I saw in your soccer bio, and I didn't know this about you, but it fits your personality. You were on the cheerleading team.
I was.
At Wausau West.
I was a competitive cheerleader for 12 years prior to playing soccer. I started playing soccer my junior year in high school, so just evolved into something.
And your cheerleading team qualified for state freshman year.
Yep.
Tell us about that experience.
I think that going to state is something that was super fun. I think that our team had a really good dynamic that year. I mean, I only cheered freshman year because I wanted to focus more on school and everything, but being on the high school cheer team was quite an experience, especially making it to state our first year. I think we had a really good team. We had a lot of competitive cheerleaders on our team as well, so I think that kind of elevated the team to make it to state.
What was your favorite aspect of cheerleading?
I think it was just the team camaraderie. Like, we all got along really well, especially like hyping up the fans. I think that's something that was really fun. I was both a football and basketball cheerleader at that time, so I got to see all aspects of sports, and that's kind of what got me into my degree here. I wanted to be part of the action and bring on sports everywhere else I go.
Well, it's kind of funny because you talk about pumping up the crowd, which is a big part of your job now as a public address announcer for Falcon Athletics. Come on, Falcon fans, let me hear you during football games at Thomas Feeney Stadium, and we'll touch on that as we go along. But when you look at your time in high school outside of cheerleading, you mentioned, okay, you were on the cheerleading team your freshman year and then focused on school, got into soccer. What are some of the other activities you were involved in during your time as a warrior?
I was huge into DECA, which is a sports and marketing club, so that kind of helped lead me in the way of business. I was on a leadership team, so we helped incoming freshmen come in. I was really a part of anything that they could bring to us. My brother wrestled, so I was a part of like helping the wrestling tournaments go along. He was also a part of football, so I did manage both wrestling and football in high school, which I think helped lead me in the direction that I'm going now.
So have you always grown up been a sports fan?
Yes, yeah. It's been big in our house, in our family as well, like extended family and everything.
Any one particular sport or across the board?
Kind of across the board. My cousins played hockey, and then my brother started wrestling at a younger age, and then football came around, and I've always just wanted to be in the stands close to the action.
So what's your earliest memory of either watching and or playing sports?
Well, I started cheerleading in first grade, so I think that was really when I got into it. I did like a little gymnastics and dance before that, but cheerleading was, I got in it, I got to go out on the floor and compete, and that was kind of the upbringing of like, I want to be a part of sports.
Do you have a favorite sport to either watch or play?
I don't think so. I mean, football I really like. I really like watching. I enjoy it because I understand it the most. But I'm slowly just learning every sport, and I think that it's amazing to how sports transition throughout sports, I guess.
Well, you mentioned, okay, you played soccer in high school. Was that your first opportunity of playing soccer ever?
I played soccer when I was younger.
Okay.
I did not like it because I did not like running. So my mom thought I was crazy when I wanted to play soccer in high school, but I got on the team. In high school, we had a new head coach. So I was like, why not just give it a try? And I fell in love with it. I mean, like coming here and playing soccer here too, like I fell in love with the sport. And I mean, I love the teammates that I played with, and it was a great experience.
Did you ever envision, though, okay, when you picked soccer back up in high school, that you would maybe one day play collegiate soccer?
No, never in a million years. I think it's crazy. Like coming in, and I had talked to Middendorf here, and he was like, yeah, like you can totally like join the team. And I think I made some really good friends and good connections coming into Concordia, which really helped me to move along in my journey here.
And what a first season to be a part of the Falcon women's soccer team back in 2019. The Falcons, of course, winning the NAC Tournament Championship, a thriller at the Dominican, advanced to the NCAA Tournament. When you look back at that team, your freshman year, in your opinion, what made that team so good, so successful?
I think that we had really good communication throughout. I think that our training sessions were definitely hard, but that's what we needed to go against the competition we were playing. I think that it was a lot of we did a lot of team bonding coming in, so like getting to know our teammates and how we react to each other in certain aspects, I think was really important.
No question, girls high school soccer in the state of Wisconsin played in the springtime, so nothing new there, but probably from a collegiate standpoint then, okay, you go from 2019 to all of a sudden the pandemic, and then the unique spring season that was. How unique was that to be a part of, a college season played in the springtime, games that counted, were meaningful in a short amount of time?
I think that it was kind of crazy. We had to do training was a lot harder. We had to train harder and faster because we were going right into games that counted, especially coming out of the pandemic where we couldn't have full team practices. So I think that it was really it was crazy. But I think that we held on and we really did well.
You then traded the soccer ball for the microphone. How did that opportunity come about?
I think, I worked in the athletic office through my second semester freshman year, and I fell in love with it. I liked being up close in the action. I liked all of the behind-the-scenes stuff that went on going into a game that, viewers at home are just watching it on TV, and they don't really realize how many spots are filled up in the booth to try to get the whole process to run. And coming to the microphone, though, I didn't really think that was going to happen because we had Aaron Preston, and he was doing great, and then he graduated and left, and Jeremy came up to me and was like, do you want to do PA? And I never thought that I would be good at it. I mean, I'm still working on it now. It's not great, but I think that in the upcoming years it will be good.
Yeah, I mean, you had big shoes to fill with Ron, but you're doing a great job filling that void. How nervous do you get, though, before a game, during a game? Do you get nervous?
I do. Football especially. I know that I have to make more play calls, and I think that it is nerve-wracking. I don't want to screw up, and there are times where I say the wrong name, and I apologize, and it just spur-of-the-moment things, but I'm really comfortable calling soccer, especially because I know the game. I'm comfortable calling different games that don't have as much to say throughout the game, but I do get nervous. You just kind of shake the jitters off, and it's go time.
Well, there are some doozies of names in and around this conference that you have to go out there and try to pronounce correctly, and you do a great job doing so. But when you look at PA announcing Falcon Athletics, what's your favorite part about it? Maybe what's your least favorite part about the job?
My favorite part about it is I'm kind of getting my name out there now. It's kind of it's a big step in the world of sports, and it kind of correlates with what I want to do in the future. I would love to be a sideline broadcaster, so that kind of I have to open up and not be as nervous doing it. The least favorite part is probably the names. There are some really tough names, and they're all coming at you so fast. You don't have time to stop and think about how to pronounce it, so you just have to know it.
Well, and the beauty is, or maybe it's not the beauty, is you finally master that name, and guess what? Game's over, and you don't see that player again maybe for another year.
Yep.
So it's see ya. But you had the opportunity this past summer to get behind the microphone a little bit.
Yes.
Internship with the Wisconsin Woodchucks, Northwoods League, same league as the Lakeshore Chinooks here on Concordia's campus. Tell us about that opportunity.
So I was a marketing and promotions intern. So with that, I did all of the marketing promotions on the field. So in between innings, we would go out, and I was lucky enough to be behind the microphone and announcing what was going on and commentating the games that were being played in between innings. I think that it was a really good experience, and it really helped elevate me to be able to announce here for Falcon Athletics. It was a great experience.
Being from Wausau, did you go to Woodchucks games growing up?
Yes, a few. Way before the stadium was really even renovated. Now the stadium looks completely different. They're fun games to go to, and I think they're even more fun now that, like, there are kids I went to high school with that are playing for the Chucks. So, like, going back and seeing, like, oh, like, I went to school with them or, like, something is really cool.
The only thing I wish Athletic Field would change, and there's nothing they can really do about it, nothing you can do about it, but the sun sets in the batter's eye.
It does.
I mean, that's got to be a nightmare for hitters, and it's an adjustment certainly for players around this league. But when you look at your experience with the Woodchucks this past summer, what would you say were the ultimate highlights?
I think the biggest highlights were getting to know the players, getting them involved with the fans was huge. We had a promotion where they went and threw like softy balls up into the stands. I think that was huge. I also think that a lot of the behind the scenes work that went into a game day. I mean, we were there early in the morning and the game wasn't until 6 o'clock at night. So there was a lot of prep work going into it. I helped with like making the game script for every game. So the order of the game was kind of in my hands, and it's kind of crazy, but it was a huge, great experience.
As you mentioned, then you parlay that experience into now here at Concordia and getting behind the microphone. You talked about PA announcing soccer, and your voice can be heard at Fitting Field throughout the course of this fall. Is it still a little bit awkward? Is it comfortable? Is it different announcing women's soccer, being that, again, those are your friends, your former teammates?
Right. I not gonna lie, I miss it so much. I miss the girls. I miss the teammate camaraderie that went around, and but the one game I was announcing from the sideline, and they would say hi to me as they're running down the field, and I think that I still have a really good connection with a lot of them. So it's almost more fun to announce for them because I know them and I know what they can accomplish and how they're doing on the season.
I don't know if there's anything you've ever thought about before, but what does it mean to you? You're the first female PA voice of Falcon football and paving the way for, future female voices for Falcon football at Thomasini Stadium. What does that mean to you to get this opportunity? And again, you've excelled at it so far in the first 4 or 5 home games?
Yeah, I think I'm really grateful for the experience. I think that, breaking glass ceilings is one of my goals, and I want to be a woman in sports and behind the scenes and everything, and that's kind of something that's new in upbringing now. It's not really it's all men. It's a really male dominant field, especially like in my classes. They're really male dominated, and I try to go into every class and I excel, and bringing it out to Thomasini Stadium, I think I'm just really grateful for the experience.
And, of course, as mentioned now, you're also the host of a new social media show for Falcon Athletics, Inside the Nest. The first couple of episodes have come out already. You can find those through the various social media outlets for Falcon Athletics. But tell us about that show, what it's all about, how it became.
So I kind of wanted to do something that would highlight teammates that sometimes don't always get the one-on-one interviews. There's a lot of teammates on the team that work really well together, but that's never really seen besides like during a game. So I also want to kind of get the dynamic of the team, how what they're doing and how they're doing and how much fun they can have together, especially in a little segment like that. They're really short, so short and sweet, but you kind of get the gist of how teammates react together and how they are as friends outside of the sport.
And this past week, you had a couple of men's soccer players on. They were stacking up the cups, which luckily for them, it wasn't a windy day like it was and is today, was last week. But where do you come up with some of the ideas of the games to play and what you want to do with these athletes?
I think a lot of it comes from just talking in the office, trying to figure out with the rest of the team, what would viewers like to see? What would be something fun and quick and easy that we could set up and tape right away? The cup stacking, I just thought of that. I was like, wow, I think that this would be funny, especially because it was a little windy that day. Cups were flying everywhere. The cups don't necessarily unstack very well.
Yeah.
It was something fun that the men's soccer could get into, and it was fun to see them like compete against each other.
I know you have a week off this week with fall break, and then Inside the Nest will come back next week. But as far as the future, what can fans maybe hope to see? What kind of, without giving too many secrets away, maybe some of the athletes or maybe some of the games you hope to maybe play?
Well, games are kind of in the process. I don't want to give too much away because that's kind of the fun of it. They're really short segments, and you just kind of got to wait and see. We do want to highlight as many sports as possible, so you can be looking out for other sports in the future. Yeah, it's kind of just a wait and see thing. You kind of got to just be ready.
To wrap it up, and you touched on this already, okay, you're behind the microphone now, getting a great opportunity here at Concordia, and hopefully that will continue to blossom. Career aspirations. I mean, you touched on it already, but big picture, what are you hoping once your time at Concordia does end in a couple of years or whenever it may be? What do you hope to go on and do?
I would love to work for the NFL. That is my ultimate goal. So I think doing football here is kind of a good push in that direction. But sideline reporting is something that I've been looking at lately, and I think it would be super fun to be on the sideline, close to the action, letting the fans know what's going on right on the field. Yeah, that's kind of like my ultimate goal.
So you a big Packer fan then?
Yes.
So does Aaron Rodgers own the Chicago Bears?
He
Wikipedia
does.
says he now does. So
Yeah.
it must be true. Morgan, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on with us. And you can see her throughout the school year on Inside the Nest. And again, that will take a week off for fall break. We'll be back next week. You can take a look at the previous 2 episodes now throughout the Falcon social media outlets. And, of course, you can hear her voice throughout the Concordia campus as the PA voice of Falcon Athletics here in this 2021-22 school year. When we come back, we will focus on cross country, being joined by their head coach, Russ Delapp. Stay tuned. You're tuning in to Falcon Focus here on CUWFalcons.com.
Since 1978, Lutheran Church Extension Fund has had the humble privilege of supporting the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in fulfilling its mission of sharing the gospel.
Thanks to our faithful investors, we provided thousands of church workers, congregations, schools, and organizations with the resources they need to reach more people with the saving name of Christ. It's what we do.
Because our greatest joy comes from seeing LCMS ministries and her workers thrive, we will continue to make precious resources available, both today and far into the future. It's our promise to you.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund.
We are Lutheran Church Extension Fund. We want to be part of your great and exciting work.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Falcon Focus, being joined by cross-country and track and field head coach Russ Delapp as the cross-country teams prepare for the NAC Championships. We'll be right here on the Concordia campus a little less than 2 weeks on the 30th of October. And, Coach, thanks for joining us. And I was about to ask you before I found out off air, have you gone for your morning run yet? And heard that you're about to do that after the show.
Yeah. You know, I'm waiting for it to warm up a little bit.
How often do you run, and typically how far?
I run every day. It's really, I always say it's my drug. But I run anywhere from 8 to 18 miles a day. So
no kidding.
Yeah. So currently right around 70 miles a week.
What is it about running that you enjoy, and what motivates you to stick to your routine?
Running is been something that's been very personal. It's my time. It's my space. It's a good time to go out and meditate if I want to, or solve my life's problems during that run, or just to relax. And then I like I always tell my runners I consider myself a runner first and a coach second. It's I like going through the process of training and getting in shape and going out there and racing fast. Though I just can't get rid of the bug.
When you go out there, do you run the same route every time? Do you mix it up? And do you know what the goal is that day? Like, I want to run so many miles. Do you just base it on how you're feeling and just decide, hey, now it's my time to head back in?
Yeah. Well, when you've been here as long as I have, you run a lot of the same routes every day. But I don't get bored with it one bit. Even after decades of running some of the same routes, I can still find new things, on those routes. But I got kind of a plan in my head as what I want to do, and right now I don't have any big races coming up, so I'm what I would call just maintaining some good shape, and when I decide to pick out a big race or something, then I'll up my training from where it's at and get ready for it.
Now, I heard through the grapevines that you and former President of Concordia, President Ferry, used to regularly run together. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or to some degree?
On occasion, yeah. We'd run together for sure.
So how far back does that go, or did that go?
Well, all the way back to when he was first elected president. Yeah.
So do you guys discuss stuff about Concordia as you'd run, or do you guys kind of, just run together but keep the talking to a minimal?
Well, here's a short story, but one day I was out running, and I saw President Ferry running, and so I caught up to him pretty easily. and so we started talking, and I told him I have this plan. I had this thought. I want to build an athletic training program. And that was the seed that built that building over there, the fitness center and everything else. So it started out as about a $340,000 project, and it ended up being, I think, $2.85 million.
Holy cow.
And I got to design the athletic training facility, and we put in the fitness center and all those, everything over there. And so, it was a short conversation. He said, go ahead, put it together. Let's, and I started putting together a business plan, and then you got to form a committee, and, 2 or 3 years later, it was built. And
then eventually you, down the road, transitioned into a head coaching position with track and field and with cross country. So let's talk about cross country as they prepare, as mentioned, for the NAC Championships in less than a couple of weeks. And when you take a look at the men's side, checking out the roster looks awfully young, at least when you look at years of eligibility. Is that a fair assessment? Is it a younger team, or is it kind of a blend of youth and experience?
Oh, we have a young team, on the men's side for sure. On the women's side, we have a little bit more seniority, but the men's side, we're young.
And when you look at that men's team, what have you seen from sophomore Tim Bray, who has been named the NAC Runner of the Week on a couple of different occasions this season?
Yeah, Timmy is one of those guys that really, I don't have to coach much. He has it in him. He's consistent with his training. He has a really high passion for running, and he just knows how to race, man. He knows how to maximize his day. But Timmy is he's a great kid, and he's just a really hard worker, like all the other kids on the team.
Well, let me ask you about coaching cross country, what you look for as a coach. How do you go about coaching up an athlete? What are you watching for? What tendencies? How do you go about assessing a runner's ability?
Yeah. Well, I feel like it takes a year to get to know a new runner and their idiosyncrasies, because there's a lot of different things. It's not just, you take a historical perspective of where they've been, what they've done, the type of injuries that they've had. That sort of stuff is easy to figure out. It's the mental side of the athlete that takes time to figure out, what buttons to push and things of that nature, how to handle them in a crisis situation and all those other things. So those are the types of things that I look for. I'd like to coach everybody as an individual. It's not just here's the Russ Delapp program, everybody's running it. So I have 6 different groups. They typically do different things as far as mileage and things of that nature. And you know, based on that historical perspective of where they've been as an athlete will help determine their starting point where I put them. You know, how many miles are you going to run a week? How hard can I push you? Some kids come from some what I would call soft programs, and they can't be pushed hard right away because you'll crush them. And others come from programs where, you know, they were pushed a little harder, and you know, you just take them from that point and you just try to build them. And you mentioned Timmy. Timmy and I sat down last year, and I asked him what he wanted to do with his career, and he has some big goals, you know, and so we laid out kind of a 4-year plan for him. You know, so it gets that extensive, and you gotta, with running, it's about progressing the training as you mature physically and mentally. You know, you got to up the training, and when you want to be a national caliber type athlete, the training gets really pretty difficult, and so you can't just do it you could, but it typically doesn't work out. So we put together a 4-year plan for him.
Timmy Bray, the former Cedarburg Bulldog, and outside of Bray, you know, I don't want to, you know, leave anybody out, because certainly everybody has contributed some way or another to the team's success. But who are some of the other runners maybe on this cross-country team on the men's side that have caught your eye this season?
Oh, well, if I can mention, this past Saturday, we really had a historic performance. So between the men and women, we had 12 runners who hit their all-time PR and 3 that hit their season best. So, you know, I could mention every single runner on the team. They ran great. Yeah, I mean, it was just one of the it's just fun when you see your athletes, you know, putting it all together, you know, after a season of really hard training. But, you know, and then you think about, you know, 2 guys that I name monsters of the meet. Joshua Peterson, who came into the season, trained his butt off all summer. His first 2 races were, if I can say, it was crap, terrible. And I said, okay, let's get your blood checked, and you know, we found out that he was really low on iron, and so he's on a supplement, and he came back, he just hit about a 2-minute PR, you know. And then Easton Becker, this is the first, he's graduating this year, but his first year running cross country, and he had COVID, was locked up for 10 days, came out, and ran a big PR.
I like how you put that.
Yeah.
Locked up and just came out.
Yeah, I mean, he was locked up, and you know, Matthew is running great. Ryan Klug is just hit another big PR. I mean, everybody on the team has a foot into the success of the overall team success. So and you can have a lot of individuality success, but it's collectively, it's the team that, you know, puts you on the map.
And before you switch, you know, focal points to the women's side, is it fair to say that on the men's side that you're overall pleased with the progress you're seeing the team make from where they were at the beginning to where they are right now?
Absolutely. I was talking to the team yesterday, and I emphasize this throughout the season. I try to teach them, you know, understand the process. You know, a lot of kids come in, you know, they run during the summer, but they're not running hard. I don't push them hard, and you know, they want to race well. You know, and it's like you're not going to race well. You know, you got to give it time. I've got to work your butt off. You know, and so after, what is it, about 8 weeks, you know, of hard training, they're starting to get into top shape, and now it's starting to show. And now I'm seeing a lot of smiles after races, so it's I feel blessed and knock on wood and all that other stuff, but yeah, it's great. Hopefully, the idea is to keep pushing and conference and regionals coming up, and I always tell them we're climbing the mountain. We're getting towards the top, but we're not there yet. We still got a lot of work to do.
And then switching gears on the women's side, it's a lot of experience back, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I can mention Lynnea Bartel.
Yep.
She's been on fire for the last 2 years. And the thing that I just mentioned to you, Matt, about understanding the process, this is a 4-year process right there. This is the fruits of 4 years of training to get her to this level. Being conference champion and last year and just hitting PRs left and right, and then we have a transfer grad student from Eau Claire, Tegan Montfields, who's been our number 2 runner, and she's man, that was a blessing to get her. But she's in the PA program, and yeah, and then we have a bunch of sophomores, that. And a few juniors that are just really stepping up, and showing some good leadership too.
Let's brag a little bit longer, though, about Lynnea Bartel for a minute, because as you mentioned, it's been 4+ years now with this program, and the cross-country individual women's champion a year ago. She was a NAC runner of the week just last week. When you look at her progress from when she stepped on campus to now, you talked about how it's been a 4 years in the making. What is it about her? What have you seen? What steps has she taken to make her the athlete she is today?
Well, when you again, I have to start them where they come from. So if they come out from high school running 15 miles a week in their senior track season, I'm not going to start them out at 60 miles a week,
sure.
Right? Because they're gonna quit my team. Yeah. So she started back then, at low miles, low training, and we progressed it. But what really, the physical part is hard, but it's easy to manipulate and program. It's the mental side that is pretty difficult to train. And that's where her big improvement has come from, the mental side. Her training's gone up every year, but from a mental perspective, she has just gotten so much stronger. And in high school, the mental aspect is, from what I see, is really not trained. It's always just physical. Go out and run hard, do these intervals, do this. You don't practice, the visualization, the rehearsal, things of those sorts of things in order to get mentally strong. We have reflections after every single race that I make them do. It's an evaluation, to determine how they did, what was in your mind, how satisfied were you? Were you disappointed? Are you confused? It's all those other things that I'm trying to tap into in order to make them a stronger runner.
Without putting more pressure on her, without getting anybody in trouble, is it fair to say that she's, a favorite, or she's got a real good shot at repeating as a individual cross-country champion next week?
She does, absolutely. She's definitely in it, man. She's what I would call a monster. I don't, with certain people, and it's not just her that I'm going to say this about, but on race day, I just sit back and watch, man. It's a thing of beauty sometimes. It's just, I just sit back and watch, and You know, you can. I had a big talk yesterday with the team, and it's just like, as a coach, I can see it. You know, I can see when you're on fire. I can see when you're grinding, you know, to the max, and I can see when you're not. You know, but yeah, no, she's just a really strong runner, and she certainly has a shot at being conference champ.
One, you say on fire, and certainly, again, both the men's and women's teams were on fire this past weekend. On the women's side, 6 posted career personal records, another with a season best time. Did I hear, too, that at least on the women's side, you wore special uniforms for Lyme disease? Was that this past weekend?
Yeah. You know, and one of my athletes, Mary Grace, has Lyme's disease, and that's put her out. Her body can't tolerate the running and stuff, but she's one of my captains. And she came up with the idea, and then our athletic trainer, Matter Dahlman, has Lyme's disease too. So it's been around our team, and so she wanted to do something to raise money for an organization that's associated with Lyme's disease and whatnot, and came up with this idea of wearing lime green singlets for the race. Yeah, you know, and just to bring about awareness and things of that nature. So, yeah, that was really cool.
It is really cool. And now the focus turns to the NAC Championships coming up October 30th. What happens between now and then? How do you go about preparing for the championships? With the advantage, I would think, of being here for the first time since 2017.
Yeah. You know, it's always an advantage, even being at home. You know, the kids can sleep in their own bed. They can get up late. They can just walk over to the course. You know, they're not getting up at 5, you know, having breakfast, traveling for 2 hours, you know, that sort of thing. So, and they know the course. They know all the little divots and holes and things of that nature. And so it is an advantage. We really don't do anything different. You know, the training changes a little different because at the end of the season, you taper a little bit, you know, in order to bring about stronger performances. But other than that, it's training as usual. You know, we had a little light workout yesterday, and Wednesday we got a really hard workout. So we're not backing off. We're really maintaining right now with the training goals.
And just finally, then, I guess I would ask you if you could handicap the event a little bit for us. Aurora won the men's title this past spring. Edgewood has won the last 3 women's cross-country team titles. Who do you see as being some of the schools that certainly figure to be right there competing for that title?
Yeah, you know, I suspect St. Norbert's now. They've always got a strong cross-country program. Edgewood women will be there again. If I remember correctly, Edgewood beat St. Norbert's by 2 points at this last meet. So, yeah, and we'll be in the mix. And Aurora is always there too. So, you know, those 4 teams, both on the men and women's side, will do well. But on the men's side, MSOE is just has been really strong. So they're, in my view, they're the team to beat on the men's side.
Well, looking forward to it. Again, that comes your way a week from Saturday right here on the Concordia campus. You can find out more information by checking out CUWFalcons.com. Coach Delapp, as always, thanks a lot for your time. I know you got to go run. I'm guessing after an interview like this, maybe 15 miles in you, give or take?
Well,
a little more? A little less?
Yeah, a little less.
Less?
It'll be about a 10-miler today. Ooh. It's a workout day, so.
Not a bad day for it either.
It's perfect, man. This is what you live for,
Absolutely.
Get up for. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Coach Delapp, thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Falcon Focus. We'll do it again next week right here on CUWFalcons.com.